G'day all, there are a lot of lore videos out there about big lore characters, zones, quests and what have you, but I think the little people deserve a video too, and here is my list of top 10 Elwynn NPCs that we see a lot, but don't really think about too much because nowadays a lot of us just want to get from character creation to max level as soon as we can, and I think these NPC stories deserve to be remembered.
Emboldened by the return of their heroic king, Varian Wrynn, the proud humans of Stormwind led the Alliance to victory in its war against the dreaded Lich King. While successful, the campaign in Northrend proved costly, and the humans now seek to bolster their strategic holdings throughout the world. Under Varian's daring leadership, humanity now braces itself for a renewed conflict with its perennial enemy, the Horde. Yet, as the great cataclysm rips across the world, familiar threats have once again arisen closer to home. It now falls to you to defend the kingdom and uphold the honor of humanity.
Now these guys really don't have much lore or story. I just like the fact that Terry Palin is a play on Terry Jones, Terry Gilliam and Michael Palin's names, who of course were all part of Monty Python's Flying Circus, and they sang the Lumberjack song. The guy named Jason next to Crystal Lake, yeah, that's a Friday the 13th reference. I love how WoW is full of little nods to pop culture like this. Donna Anthony, the crazy cat lady who just happens to be living in the middle of the forest holding a cleaver alone. Just a little bit strange, but here is her story. Donna Anthony was named after Donna Anthony, a former Blizzard community manager during World of Warcraft's beta period, whose form avatar just happened to be a cat. Legend says that she is the reason why we even have vanity pets in World of Warcraft in the first place. Someone on a forum suggested it, and she suggested it to the developers, and well, voila! They named it after her because she loved cats. She loved cats. Perhaps because of her, pets morphed into battle pets after patch 5.0.4 and spawning a whole new subgenre of World of Warcraft gameplay. So, I tip my hat to you, Donna. At level 20, you get a quest asking you to see Randall. Randall Hunter is usually the first person we see for any kind of riding skill as a human. Sure, Journeyman riding is only a measly 6%, but hey, it's still a lot better than if you're walking around without the heirloom mount. Now after seeing him, we now need something to ride, and that's where Katie comes in. Katie is the lady you see for your first mount. Now you do have to be human or exalted with Stormwind, or you can't actually buy a horse from her. With humans being the most popular alliance race, she was probably the first woman in WoW to sell you your first ride. Now all mounts now have the same speed, but back in the Neverwinter, different mounts had different speeds, so your normal mount could only do 60%, but only your Swift mount had 100%. Also, Chris Metzen's wife is named Cat Hunter, so Katie Hunter was probably named after her. Good work, Chris. Guard Thomas is the stout defender of eastern Elwynn Forest, and when we first meet him, he tells us there are Murlocs everywhere along the rivers and that they are aggressive and semi-intelligent. Basically, he's telling us that he needs help. He asks us to find two of his men that have not returned, guards Rolf and Malachi, and he asks us to kill the Grey Forest Wolves and the young bears, as the further away from Goldshire they are, the more aggressive they are. We find that Malachi has been stripped of everything, but we do find his tag. He's dead, and now we need to find Rolf. Spoiler alert, he's also dead. And now we need to find Guard Thomas and tell him the sad news. And he tells us that the Murloc threat is now something that can't be ignored, and after killing the wolves and bears he sends us to get some armor from Sarah Timberlane for our deeds. After we complete his original task, there is now a sign that pops up next to him, asking us to collect 8 Murloc fins. After we collect them, Guard Thomas is thankful and he finally has some good news for Marshal Duggan. And now we have helped Guard Thomas on the eastern front. We've made Eastern Elwynn just a little bit safer for the humans living in the region. William Pestle, the candlemaker fella in Goldshire. What a fella, what a lad, what an annoying set of chain quests he sends us on. First, he wants us to collect candles for him and his brother who runs an apothecary in Stormwind from the kobolds. Yes, we take candle. And after giving him the candles, he thinks we can help him live it more. He butters us up by telling us we seem like the helpful type, and he asks us to do an old man a favour. He tells us that the last time he was near the McClure Vineyards, he heard Mabel crying in her cottage, and he wants us to check it out. Now when we get down to Mabel, she thanks, well, William for sending us down there and that she is madly in love with Tommy Joe Stonefield, but alas, their families are bitter enemies and that she can't see him or gaze upon his handsome face, and she gives us a letter to give to him. We find him near the Stonefield farm on the bank of the river, just chilling looking at some rocks, and we give him the letter and he lights up at the sight of it as his life seems to be kind of dull. And if you're looking at rocks being the highlight of your day, well, I suppose it very may well be. Tommy Joe hates the fact that they can't be together and he just has to see her. He gets us to talk to his grandma and he believes that she is the only one who can bring them together. She tells us that the two lovers don't have much of a future while their families are feuding, but she thinks there is a way that they might be together, even just for a little while. She turns us back to William Pestle and proclaims that maybe he has a potion to unite the two lovebirds, so she gives us a letter and tells us to see him. Turns out Grandma's name is Mildred. William hasn't seen her in years. Now he knows what's going on, he formulates a way to get them together, an invisibility liquor as it were, so she can slip out undetected and see Tommy Joe. But he needs some crystal kelp as an ingredient, so on we go. He tells us he needs crystal kelp, which usually grows in the ocean, but sometimes Murlocs collect it, and guess what? We have to go to the ironically named Crystal Lake next to Goldshire. After collecting the kelp for William, he makes the brew and sends us back to Mabel. When we get there, she is anxious for Tommy Joe's response, and then tells us that she feels guilty for deceiving her family, but her feelings are just too strong. So she takes a potion and disappears. And for our pleasure, she gives us some healing potions. And that is the story of how we met our first Murloc. Remy Two Times, that gold dust collecting bloke just outside the Lion's Pride Inn. We all know him, we have all told him that we will collect gold dust for him. Again on our 34th human alt that we never got past level 8 just because we wanted a level new tune, but we couldn't be bothered, so we deleted it, then created the exact same tune on the exact same server with the exact same name. Remy is a trader from the Red Ridge Mountains to the east, and he gives us two quests, one for gold and one for the Murloc threat to the east. He says that we can get the best price in town, that everyone always goes to the Fargo Deep mine. You can also collect the dust and the candles for that matter from the Jasperlode mine to the northeast. When we collect it for him, he gives us cash for the gold and a little something from his associates that we might find useful, which is either a cloth belt or a plate chest guard. Now he's also concerned about the Murloc threat scaring the fish away and attacking the gentlefolk. He warned Marshal Duggan, but Marshal Duggan is more worried about the gnolls and the bandits, and tasks us to try and convince the Marshal to take the threat seriously. Way back when the game was actually a challenge, Remy gave us his marbles, and now we can say he really has lost his marbles. I know that was bad. But I saw this character is based on a conjunction of two different characters, Jimmy Two Times from Goodfellas and Jacob Two Books, and either way, they repeated themselves just like the old Remy. And this brings us to Marshal Duggan. The defender of Goldshire, Marshal Duggan is the leader of the military forces on behalf of the Stormwind army in Elwynn. He is as staunch as they come. After speaking with Remy about the Murloc threat, the Marshal says that he respects Remy as a merchant, but with all the reports of the Murlocs being sketchy at best, he can't send any more troops out to investigate, as his troops are already spread too thin. He tells us that if we are concerned about it, that we should head east and speak to Guard Thomas, and even gives us land of a horse to get there if we want. He also sends us to the Fargo Deep mine to see how bad the infestation is with the kobolds, and after this he sends us to Dangalode mine, where we investigated, and yeah, too is infested. Marshal Duggan is kind of feeling swamped by the looks of it, and he has to deal with it all right now. He asks us to head west as well to help out the Westbrook garrison, as with everything going on, he literally has no men to spare. He wants us to speak to Deputy Rainier over there, and the poor man is just swamped, and he just wants us to help him out, so that's what we do. we help him out. The story of Hogger is legend. We all know the level 1 raids to destroy this beast of a mob with exactly 666 health. The reason he was so hunted? Well, for that we have to go back in time to the Gnoll Wars, 80 years before Vanilla, when Stormwind was being governed by King Baratheon Ryn, the father of Lane Ryn and grandfather of Varian, and well, you know the rest. Now at the time, the Gnolls banded together under the leadership of Pack Lord Garfang, the leader of the Red Ridge Pack, and he pinned down the human forces around Stormwind, not to mention the surrounding areas like Elwynn and Red Ridge. The impasse, however, was broken when King Baratheon launched a daring counterattack against the Gnolls' base in Red Ridge, and he slayed Garfang. Leaderless, the Gnolls started to infight, and the humans quickly and easily won the Gnoll War soon after this, establishing Stormwind as a dominant force in the Mid-South region of the Eastern Kingdoms. Now you may be wondering how this relates to Hogger. Well, humans have a long memory, and a couple of generations later, they saw that there was a potential new intelligent leader of the Riverpaw Gnolls in Hogger rising up. They had to defeat him at all costs, lest they have another potential Gnoll War on their hands. We are tasked with taking out some of his band and presenting the painted arm Gnolls as proof. And proof of taking out their leader, the huge paw of Hogger. After the Cataclysm expansion, the Hogger quest is a little bit different. We are tasked to deal with the Hogger situation and return to Marshal Duggan. The quest doesn't say anything about killing him, only to venture into the woods and deal with him. When we are on the cusp of killing him, he gets some help from his pretty average minions and is no match against us at all. And when we sufficiently get him down, General Clay appears and says that Hogger may be the key to ending the Gnoll aggression, and he has taken him into custody in the name of King Varian. When we tell Marshal Duggan of his capture, he is astonished. "What did he do? Great Scott! We now have a bloodthirsty beast and his army of gnolls right beneath the Stormwind streets. What an improvement, I feel safer already." No sarcasm there, is there? And when we get to the Stormwind stockades, we find out that Warden Thelwaters and his men have been overrun by the Riverpaw Gnoll gang. And though Hogger had killed countless thousands of men, capturing him was a mistake, it seems. The men held out as long as they could in the stockades, but then they came. From the shadows and the darkness, Gnolls in service of Hogger ripped the Warden's best men to pieces, and it is up to us and our party to stop him. After we do kill him, the Warden comes into the room and thanks us for vanquishing the Gnoll King, and that our deeds will be spoken through Elwynn Forest and Westfall for years to come. The Warden tells us that Gnoll King's death will plague the Riverpaw band for years to come, seemingly ending the Gnoll threat for a good long while. Well, for the next 80 years, I suspect. The herald of the famous Lion's Pride Inn, innkeeper Frederic Farley has seen it all, from new adventurers to leather-bound players, mostly on our Hoppy realms, to even being summoned by King Anwin himself. Innkeeper Farley has heard all the tales and even lived in some. And we pick up the quest Rest and Relaxation from Falcon Eisenstrider to meet the famous innkeeper. When we get to the inn, he welcomes us with open arms, and for the first time as a human, we get our first Hearthstone rest area, providing us with a roof over our head, and if we want some food or water, he provides that as well, establishing himself as a pretty alright fella. And he lives with the knowledge that he is safe from most things that may come because of the unending flow of merry bands of fortune seekers just like us. In the novel Before the Storm, set just before BFA, a royal courier is sent to summon him to Stormwind Keep. Upon hearing this, the graceful and ever-patient innkeep pretty much craps himself, thinking was he in trouble for something that was happening at the end? But his wife Verena, that's right, he's married, tries to calm him down, telling him that maybe it might be a celebration at the inn because of the Burning Legion being destroyed. But Frederic is still nervous. Now he arrives at the petitioner's chamber, nervous as all hell, and is greeted by Count Remington Ridgway. Farley had no idea how to greet him or any of the royalty, and soon after that, Anwin, Gan, and Kalia Menethil, the long-lost thought to be dead sister of Arthas, arrive. The group tell the innkeep that his brother Frederic was now forsaken, and an honourable one for that. Elwynn asked Frederic if he would like to meet Frederic. Farley jumped at the chance. However, what Farley didn't know is the king was using this as a litmus test, and if he would say yes to meeting old relatives, then other people would too. But unfortunately, with the events of the Arathi Highlands, Frederic would not be seeing his brother. Innkeeper Farley has been shown to be a champion of new players, champion of the crown, but most importantly for those, well, these guys as well, and no doubt will keep serving new adventures of the Alliance for a long time to come. And for my number one spot on my list of important NPCs in the Elwynn Forest, Marshal McBride. With humans being the most chosen race, Marshal McBride is one of the very first people that you will meet when playing. He is the Marshal of the Stormwind Army assigned to the Northshire Valley, and he acts as a commander of the Northshire Garrison. A truly long-lived NPC, he has been in the game since WoW Vanilla. Before the Cataclysm, when you first logged in, you would have spoken to Deputy Willem, who would give you a quest to talk to Marshal McBride, who got you to clean up the kobold camp around the Abbey, and to check out the Echo Ridge mine to the north. He also sent you to your first class trainer in Northshire Abbey to do some training for your spells, as they weren't just given, you actually had to pay to train. Post-Cataclysm, however, after the kobold threat around the Northshire Abbey was curtailed, Marshal McBride then had to deal with the Black Rock clan of orcs that had gained entry into the valley via a passage through the mountains thanks to the Shattering. He got our newly created character to kill the wolves around the abbey, take out the Black Rock spies, and then to collect the weapons of the orcs as our proof of killing them. After we have done all the other tasks of various quest givers around the abbey, Marshal McBride then bids us adieu and sends us to Goldshire to continue our adventures. He is at my number one, as he is the one who basically is the default tutorial NPC without babying us. Marshal McBride. NPCs all play an important part, one way or another, whether it be guiding us through the early game, giving us some pop culture references, or even using us for wax. That is why I think these NPCs deserve to be remembered.